reason for companies that are lacking the right skills to be able to onboard them without necessarily having to move because of the geographical issues that you may have, or a country being rejected to enter another country, visa, etc., etc. So it's quite important that you understand the reason why they've come to be, the reason why they're making money, and the reason why they are well-known brands across. The third one is around healthcare, which is now digitally enabled. We talk about drones in Ghana with blood delivery. We talk about drones, serving and watering or giving pesticides into farms and produces and all that. But they are there to solve generic problems, because you go to other countries and other well-planned farms, which are about 10, 50 acres, 100 acres. Can you imagine the number of people that you need to recruit to actually put pesticides or whatever it is to those plants? You cannot. So they've actually begun to utilize drones. And you and I today may have drones, or may have friends who have drones, etc. But what exactly are we using it for? All we do is to fly the drones just to show to our friends that we know how to fly a drone, we know how to take great pictures, and what are we going to do after it? We post it on social media. What's the end result? What problem have you solved? You solved no single problem. What you've done is that you are trying to make yourself popular in social media without gaining any revenue, without helping our brothers and sisters who perhaps, without having the opportunity that you and I have, are stuck behind the digital divide. So it's quite important that we look at the learnings of others who have successfully made it and be able to dive into it as well. We're talking about pulling down of geographical boundaries. I mentioned it earlier on. You think about Alibaba, you think about Jumia today, you think about Amazon. But what fundamental problem do they solve? It's about access to products, goods, and services. Today, I'm sure that many of you have shopped on Amazon before, or on Alibaba before, or on Jumia. Do you wonder whether Jumia cares to know who Noel is? Do they want to know your birth certificate? All they need is that they've got a platform, you want a shirt, they have a price point, you love it, you have sizes in there, they have various colors, you choose, you make a payment, you give a delivery address, and it comes back to you. Should you have a problem with it, there's a line in which you can call to track and know where your goods are, or you're given a tracking number. So you don't need to be in London, you don't need to go for a visa rejection, you don't need to go borrow money to apply for a visa to go shop and buy stuff, but you can actually make it. Today, there are a lot of people who go online, and you see it a lot of the times, saying pictures and all that they're in Dubai, they're in Maldives, they're where, but they're in Ghana, because they can actually imprint those images on themselves. So technology in itself is evolving. But guys, my message to you here is that don't be a fan of utilizing that and posting on social media thinking that you're resolving a problem, or leaving the problem to be resolved by a certain group of people called the government to resolve for you, and hoping that the future is going to be bright. You ought to take the bull by the horn. The next one is around new jobs emerging, such as drone pilots. I don't know if you know about them, podcasts, Uber drivers, and all that. Those opportunities and evolutions are bringing skills that are required for people to benefit from. And what role do you guys play in there? And the last one, which is hidden from the slide because of the couch, is around digital financial services, etc. What today you can do with money is unimaginable. You can actually transfer money, you can give money to friends and family beyond Accra without you moving. And you can do payments cross-country, cross-continent, etc. These opportunities are there, and they are there because they solve a particular problem, either for their countries, for their continent, or for the world. What problem are you solving, or what problem have you identified that you think with the technology that is in place, you can evolve and make it work? So there are a few principles that are synonymous to innovations and leaders or leadership. And I'll walk you through it. And some of them are things that I use personally. So next slide. So one, your journey should always start with believing strongly in purpose. Don't waver on that. If you don't have a purpose for what you want to innovate on and what you want to do, you've lost by even starting anything at all that you have to do. And to serve as a leader or to innovate, live a balanced life. A balanced life doesn't mean that you have to eat well in the morning and not eat well in the evening, but a balanced life of knowing when to put time and effort to work, when you need to put time and effort to what you believe in and working at it, and when you need to have fun and play. Note, I said earlier on in my intro that I love having fun. I always don't work, so you need to have that life balance and ensure that you are applying principles to whatever you're doing. Next slide. So, if you believe strongly in something, guess what? You don't have any limits. But most of the time, our biggest problem is that we don't believe enough. We don't believe in what we want to do enough. We get swayed by what our friends may say. You may have a brilliant idea today. You walk up to a friend and you tell the friend about the idea. You say, but how many people are going to buy this much kinky that you want to put in a bottle? And then you lose track. Where are you going to get the money from? Where are you going to get the bottles from? Who's going to buy? How many people can you employ? Do you have the money to make it? Then you lose track. It's because you don't believe enough. And probably you didn't have a purpose that you believed in to start with. So think about that, and it's quite important as we journey on this. Next slide. To lead or to innovate, this involves taking tough decisions, okay? And the easy way and the only tool is when you have principle. To lead or to innovate will require you taking tough decisions, because you may not have the money and you have to take it out of your pocket, but you're torn between a pizza joint, chicken wings and chips, pork chops or something. Or you're torn between spending on another chick, on another guy because it's a birthday, it's your anniversary, etc. They're tough decisions that you need to make. I'm not saying therefore don't do that. You do what you have to do. Today in the morning when I was listening to radio, we were talking about how to save finances, and there was a topic that they treated, which I think is something that I need to share with you guys as well to learn from. It's a no spend day, zero spend day. You take a day where you say you're not going to spend a cedi from your pocket or from your account. You're going to only live on what is available to make savings to it. Give it a thought, give it a try. I've not tried it yet, but it's something worth thinking about. Imagine you drink 5 Coke bottles a day, and you take a day out of the week and you say no spend day is 5 bottles times the number of days in the month, times the number of days in a year. You can imagine what you can do. What I used to do in the past was to have a simple Excel sheet, and I know most of you may have done Excel sheets before, where by the close of the day, you just put in whatever activity that you spent on. You put in the amount and you get to know what it is. Do it for a week. Track what you spend on. Take time on a Sunday when you're relaxed to read it through and see where your money goes to. And ask yourself, is it really worth it? That is when you begin to make savings. Just as a way of what I do is what I can share. Next slide. So to lead, you have to want to be one, first of all, okay? And you need that determination to survive what? The curvy roads and the bumpy roads, because it's never going to be smooth, and I wouldn't lie to you. These are my 2 very famous people. One was the top one, John Quincy Adams, was the 7th American president, way before my time, 18-something. I wasn't there. But I believe in the statement to say that always vote for principle. Though you may vote alone, and you may cherish the sweetest reflection that you never lost. Or your vote is never lost because you voted based on principle. Okay? Now the other guy who, R.E. Disney, how many of you know him? Inherited the Disney business from the father and the uncle, a very long-serving executive. He says that it's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. So if you know what you're about, you know what you're doing, it's not too difficult to make a decision whether I have to go to the nightclub tonight, or I have to spend 1,000 Ghana cedis in a nightclub, or at the bet place. When you know what your values are. If you don't have principle and you don't have values, it's very tough for you to make decisions. And like I mentioned, remember, the road ahead of us is never going to be smooth. The roads that are curvy and full of bumps. Your values and your principles will steer you through the right path. Next slide. I love this, and I won't talk much about it. You can read it yourself. Be stubborn about your goals, but flexible about your methods. Because the road is going to be bumpy and the road is going to be curvy. Thank you, my dear. Always a darling. I appreciate it. Because the road is not going to be smooth and the road is going to be bumpy and curvy. You don't have principle, you don't have values, you're going to fail. And because it's a bumpy road, you ought to be flexible in your methods of approach. But what? Be stubborn about your goals and where you want to get to. Next slide. The next principle is ability to push yourself, stay motivated, and stay the course. Because why? The road is curvy, it's going to be bumpy. So if you're not able to push yourself to stay the course and stay motivated, you're going to fall off. And this is what I call the you principle. Nobody can do it for you. I may be here talking to you, maybe inspiring you, not inspiring you, but guess what? The rest of it is you. 90%, 95% of the job is you. The need to stay motivated, the need to stay the course is very important. And this is what I call the you principle. Next one. I love this. The difference between us and the ones who succeed is this challenge they set for themselves. It's not about one being rich or one having more 24 hours than you, but it's what challenge did you set for yourself? How willing are you to push yourself to go beyond your normal situation? Today, you are here. Today, I am here. I may be the least in the pyramid, in the population, in my area, in my family, or not. This is where you are today. How ready, how motivated are you to push yourself, to elevate yourself beyond where you are today? And guess what? I love this picture so much. Whether it's an advice, it's an information, or an action that I'm saying to you, I leave the rest for you to take. And one point that I want to make before I move to my next slide here is think about the world famous richest people. Elon Musk. Name them. How many of them did we read that they started from the best international schools and finished the best international schools? None. Today, the best international schools are looking for them to what? To award them and recognize them. So your situation today is not a determinant of where you're going to end up. The most important thing is the difference between us and the ones who made the success is how best they challenge themselves, they motivated themselves, they stay in the course, they never lose track, and they had principles. Okay, next slide. The fourth one is the people factor. Parents will say, why too many people? Why too many friends? Yes, they have to say that they're right. But what I mean here, the people factor, is what I'll talk to you about in the next slide. So the next slide, please. Remember this very well. If nothing at all, don't lose this. Every person is an asset and a talent. Every person, not some. Every one of us is an asset and a talent. Let me expand on that particular point. If my friends here didn't have cleaners, we can't be sitting here today. And the cleaners didn't do their good job because they had the right skill to do what they were asked to do. We'll still come in here and complain, even though we're complaining about the heat and we're sweating. But that's fine. That means that everyone has got a role in life. Everyone has got the right skills in life. Everyone has got the right talent in life. The difficulty most of the time here is assessing the person and knowing the person's talent, knowing the person's skills, and applying the person in the right place for the person to evolve on his skills and talent is the most fundamental thing. So you may have tried because Look, way back in school, would you believe that I'm a science student? Do I look like one? I clearly don't look like one, because all the science students that we know are not, in quotes, please don't beat me, they are not that stylish and all that. You can see. I hope I am. But I was a science student. Physics, chemistry, biology, art, mass in our days, sorry. I'm sure you call it elective mass or something in our days. But biology was my weakest subject. So I failed biology. And I was being advised to do physics, chemistry, maths, which would have ended me up being an engineer. I said, no, that's not it. Because it's either being a food doctor or pursuing my business and arts. So how can a science student move into business? And today, this is where I am, and I'm moving on. So it tells you that everyone is a talent, everyone has got a skill, but identifying that. So parents will tell you that I want my son to be an engineer, to be a pilot, to be a this. Please, they are right, but they are wrong. I would rather encourage parents to understand what skill and love that the kids have and deploy them in the right zone and areas. I've got a friend who's got a daughter who is age is about 9 to 10 years old, and she's creating programs today at that age. All her time that she spends is about piecing videos together like what you and I do on TikTok. But she's doing it with animated characters. So she started off by being able to piece a song and one character without movement. And the dad, who is my friend, was worried. And because the daughter knew that I work with a telco company, assumed that I'm a technology expert. So she walked up to me with the work and showed it to me. And I said, great piece. What I want you to do is to create next week, by the time I come visiting, to eat your father's and your mother's food for free. Create the same video with the character moving, with the music that you've aligned with. Guess what? When I got there, she's done it. 2-3 weeks after, she created a 1-minute video with 3 different characters moving and interacting with each other at her age. When I showed it to the dad, and he followed the logic that I brought her to, he immediately recruited what you guys call it is a coding teacher for her daughter at that age. That girl, before 15 or 16, at most, not at least, at most, should have her own copyrighted and patented activity around trying to transform the African story to look like the likes of Rihanna and all that the kids are watching today out there. And this girl would have evolved from wherever she is and be making. I don't know how many of you know Rihanna. The kids watch it and the program. Do you know how many followers that guy has? The guy has got over 5 million followers, okay, on YouTube. And you know you get paid when you have those followers. And they do it with their whole entire family. At his age. By the time he is our age, we will be reading about him and posting him and looking for him to reward him and telling our kids about him. But the question is, what were you doing? Because probably you didn't identify the right skill and talent and place it where it was at the most time. So guys, it's important. Next slide. This is my favorite principle, okay? And faith still works in business, and I'll tell you why. I think you and I were not born from the same parents, but we're born into the same Catholic faith. So I was born a Catholic, raised a Catholic, served in the Catholic Church quite diligently as a mass server and all that, but married a charismatic, groomed my case as charismatic. I don't know my next faith, where I'm going to belong, whether I'll go into Hinduism and all that. But one thing that I have learned, which is the next slide, and I'll tell you why it works in business, is in business, there are 3 steps. You need to have vision, okay? And you need to communicate that vision and execute that vision. You're going to be successful. And guess what? Faith. They say, if you're not that religious, faith sees. And by seeing, it's about having vision about something. Faith says, meaning that faith communicates to people. I'm not getting into the pastoral area, please. IGPs around. Faith says, and what? Faith acts. Meaning that faith should execute. You should do what you have envisioned. You should do what you have communicated. And it's the same as business. Remember, faith still works in business. Don't be too creepy and think that you're not cut for business. Your principles that you are taught is the same principle that some of us who call ourselves businessmen are applying. But probably you're missing the application of it. And they say, if you want to see something, you envision it. Nothing should be wrong. When you walk around and you go to the richest of areas, and because you want to put up a house, you have to see what you're dreaming. See it. Say what you want to say, but execute the action based on what you've seen. You cannot do anything you've not envisioned. If you don't vision it, you cannot do it. You know what you want to be. When I ask you what you want to be, I want to get money. I want to be able to do this. So you have seen it. How do you communicate it? It's not about telling your next friend, your mom, or your dad, but you can communicate it by planning on paper the steps that you're taking, and you ought to do what? Execute it. The plans on paper are not going to give you the results. It's the execution. So faith still works in business. You all know, and I'll pause here for you to read this favorite quote from our the old president. It says, "Countrymen, the task ahead is great indeed, and heavy is the responsibility, and yet it is a noble and glorious challenge. A challenge which calls for the courage to dream, have a vision, the courage to believe in that, the courage to dare, the courage to do, the courage to envision, the courage to fight, the courage to work, the courage to achieve, and to achieve the highest excellencies and the fullest greatness of what? Of man." Remember the people factor. Dare we ask for more in life? Today, in your generation, you're fortunate to have all the stuff that I've shown you, the evolution, the technology, the connectedness, and all that. In my time, we did it. We were glued to Tina Moses at 6 p.m. to watch a program that comes repeatedly every day. Today, you have the opportunity to watch whatever you want to watch, at what time, anywhere, at your own, whether you're bathing. Even sometimes we put on videos from YouTube and we're still bathing. With soap on our faces, we cannot see, but the fact that we're hearing, we're happy. If you have this opportunity, you can't therefore say that you failed or you've missed anything in life. Next slide. Now, you see me here. This is Noel when Noel was young. This is me. You know those days when you're taking pictures, there's only one photographer. They come to you and they ask you to hold a flower. I did it in my past. I didn't know anything. This is Noel. But if today, those who want to judge us merely by the heights, that this gentleman has made it in career and this, we will will do well to remember them, the depths from which we started. And remember, your beginning is not a straight line. That means that this is the way you're going to end. Your beginning is a definer of what you yourself believe in and what you want to make out of your life. Next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, our opportunities are limitless.